Hey folks, it's Cody Stoffer with Playmakers Corner, here to tell you about Code Red Coaching. Competing in athletics means you've lifted the weights, you've watched film, and you've got the passion. Problem is, that's what everyone else in the state has done. Perfect your game by honing in on your mental performance with Code Red Coaching. Whether you are a team or an individual, Code Red Coaching has the tools to create mentally solid habits and set up you or your team for success. Find Code Red Coaching at coderedcoaching.com or call 720-979-1914 to learn more today. That's coderedcoaching.com or 720-979-1914 today. Now back to the show.
I'm Jason Thome, class of 2023, safety from Ralston Valley High School, committed to Colorado Mesa University, and you're listening to Playmakers Corner.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I am your host for this episode as we continue to embark on this awesome series here where we do interviews with people who are in our top 5 class of 2023 positions here in Colorado. And so you know what that means. Today I am joined by a very special guest here. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, where you're from, what school you play for, and your position, go ahead and go for it.
I'm Jason Thome. I'm from Arvada, Colorado, and I play high school football at Ralston Valley High School.
Yes, sir, you do. And you made quite the impact this year for that Ralston Valley team, which we will get to talk about here. And, it was just awesome seeing, your highlight reel and just that journey this season for those Mustangs. But before we dive into that, we're going to get to know you a little bit as far as, what built up, the hype for Jason Thome here, the prospect. And we want to know, what is your favorite memory or experience when playing sports? This could be, a game with significant weather. This could be a revenge game. This could be a comeback. This could be a rivalry game. Anything that you just like, man, this is why I love sports. That's what we want to hear.
So I have 2 moments that stand out in particular from this past year. One was our playoff victory over Columbine. That was a really great moment for myself and the team as we made it past the final 8 and made it to the semifinals, which was a big goal of ours. And to do it against a rival like Columbine really meant a lot to us. And then another moment would be when we played Regis this year. We had a really great comeback at the end of the game, and everything was kind of going not our direction for most of the game, and then we turned it around at the end, and it was one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of, and I was glad to end up on the winner's side of that.
Yeah, no, I think that those are both great moments to talk about, and I think that those are very exciting games. I mean, not only did you beat Columbine, but you kind of put it to them, and you yourself had a pretty dominant game in that Elite 8 matchup. So feel free to brag about that a little bit, man. What was going through your mind as you're just making play after play?
Well, I mean, Columbine was kind of like our rival all growing up. Even our little league team that basically ended up being the Ralston Valley team, played against them all growing up. So to come to that moment and play against them in that game and end up winning that one. And we never lost to Columbine in all 4 years of of my classes stretch at Ralston Valley. So that was pretty special to not end with a loss there. And it was great to get a couple interceptions on the board too, because funny enough, considering how much of a running team Columbine is, they're the only team I got interceptions against this year. So that was pretty ironic.
Yeah, they don't pass often, and you made them pay when they did pass. So, now they're just going to keep running the ball forever and ever because of Jason Thome. So that's awesome. And then, that Regis game, I wasn't able to attend that one, but that one was a very electric one. I talked to, I want to say Wes is who was watching that game.
Yeah, he was there.
And hearing him recap the Chronicle events, I was on the edge of my seat and I wasn't even watching it in real time. So, I think that both of those are great memories for sure. And man, the fact that your class didn't lose to Columbine, and the entirety of your high school career. That's an awesome feeling to have. And I mean, I'd feel really bad if, if you knew some buddies over at Columbine, because you could hold that over them for a while.
Yeah.
But, I think those are awesome memories. I wanted to salute and shout them out, and just made sure that the audience knew that, yeah, no, during that Columbine game, obviously team win for Ralston Valley, and that's a big deal. But, you did have yourself a pretty solid game. So keep that in mind. People at home, go ahead and look up the highlights to that game and see how often Jason here is making plays. But we're going to flip it here a little bit. I just told the audience that they have an assignment, and now I'm going to ask for something from you from the perspective of an audience, and ask what your favorite sport viewing experience is. This could be a game that you saw in person, whether that was, a little league game, a high school game, college, professional, of any sport whatsoever, or this could be a game that you watched on TV or something along those lines that just really sticks to you, and you think, yeah, man, I can enjoy watching this stuff too.
So I've been a lifelong Packer fan, and the game that I'll always remember is when the Packers beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 45, and I just remember how excited I was as like a young kid seeing my team win the Super Bowl. So I'll always remember that.
It's always good to see your team win the Super Bowl, and for it to happen in your lifetime. Because I mean, if you were a Browns fan for this long, you haven't even really gotten close to that. So it's always good to have that. And as a Bronco fan, I know that experience and that feeling of, we did it. That's fantastic, and it's great. It kind of eases some of the other heartaches that professional football can bring us a little bit from time to time. But now that we've talked about those, get to know you a little bit and your relationship with sports, let's go ahead and talk about your game here. And so, we evaluated you, and you landed as our number 2 safety in the class of 2023, if I remember correctly, with a score of 83.7 between Simon and I. So we genuinely think that you are a 3-star talent here. And, we had some good things to say, and we had some areas of improvement. We really liked your ability in the passing game and in zone. And then we kind of talked about working on block shedding and kind of man coverage a little bit. Obviously, a little bit of that came from opportunity. Just if you're not asked to do it, you're obviously not going to do it. But I guess, what was your reaction to, some of these grades that you received, whether you think they were fair, or maybe there's something that, you would like to contest, or if it's something that you've taken into the off season with you?
Oh no, I thought the grade was very fair for myself and very generous from you guys. I think my pass, defending the pass, is probably one of my strongest abilities in zone coverage. I really got to develop that after my junior year when I tried out for Team Full Gorilla and I made their team. I really got to compete against the best and see so many different looks that prepared me for this year, and that experience was invaluable. And some things that you guys suggest I work on is shedding or block shedding and man coverage. I think my man coverage improved throughout my high school career. I still think there is room to improve on for sure, but I wasn't really asked to do that much for Ralston Valley. We weren't really a man coverage type of team. And then block shedding, I had a lot of great teammates in front of me, linebackers and D linemen, where it wasn't really necessary for me as often. But yeah, that's definitely a couple things I'm starting to work on and improve as I head into college.
Yeah, no, and I mean, once you get that block shedding fully grasped, you become a full field safety, right? And I mean, there are still plays where you just did defend the run very well. I mean, we still scored your run defendability at an 8.4, just being able to see the direction and knowing the plays before they even happen. So, obviously, while there's always room for improvement, there's also reasons, like you said, great teammates, and then, your ability in the run game, I also thought was very strong as well. So, I think that both those things stick out by themselves, and we had an average score, my apologies, of an 8.5. So, obviously things shook out the way that they did for a reason. And I actually remember the Team Full Gorilla tryouts it wasn't during the combine part, but it was during the competition part of TFG. And I remember seeing you get interception after interception on multiple quarterbacks. And I was just thinking, we need to get this guy's name. And I think that we might have even mentioned it in the Twitch stream following that. So, I appreciate that you showed up, and, I'm thankful to TFG and just 7-on-7 in general to give you guys some more opportunities in the off season to just get better.
Yeah, it's that experience was very like helpful to me, and the tryout was really like a special day for me. It was very like intimidating at first, like seeing all the like star guys in the state at the tryout and realizing that you had the opportunity to be on a team with them. And there's lots of people at the tryout. Like, I just advise anyone that's like considering playing 7-on-7 or has like any doubts about it to at least go try out for one of these travel teams, because the preparation that they provided for me was like so invaluable, and that experience was just eye-opening for me, and I was able to compete against the best players in the state week in and week out, and travel and compete against the best players in the country, which prepared me more than I could ever imagine.
No, I agree for sure that you got to at least try out too, because the competition, and how cutthroat that environment is, and seeing those other star players, if you want to play on the next level, you have to kind of get used to that pressure in that environment, whether you're, a PWO or whether you're a scholarship guy that's competing for a starting job. They do a good job of encouraging players to really bring it and whatnot. So, I think that, and that's, any tryout situation that you have, because there's plenty of 7-on-7 teams as well. Just doing the tryouts is going to help you quite a bit. So I definitely want to echo your sentiment. And then obviously the opportunity that you got. Like you said, getting to rep against the best of the best. When you get to practice against like Braden Dormans and stuff like that, that's going to make you a better safety out of necessity, because you don't want to get cooked by him all practice long. So,
yep.
Did you pick him off in some of those practices? Are you allowed to tell
I might
us
have
that?
had a couple, but there was a lot of touchdowns against us as well. He was one of the best quarterbacks to ever come out of the state, and he's obviously doing his thing at Arizona.
I love the respect you got there. And you did get to face off against, some pretty tough talent this season in general. And so I'm going to kind of transition to this season. Obviously, Liam Zarka, another TFG guy, somebody who you got to play against earlier in the season. Xander Carroll is somebody who I think was like an all-state honorable mention or something like that. Creek didn't quite have their QB yet, but against Valor, Asher Weiner is a 3-star guy, I want to say. So, and even against some of your league teams, Ethan Cook was somebody who had a really good season last year and threw for a ton of yards this year. And Chatfield that you played in league, and geez, you guys played a lot of the same teams. Now that I'm looking at this a second time in your league and in the playoffs, but even a team like Chatfield, like Jake Jones is a solid QB there. And so, I just kind of want to get your reaction to the season. I know earlier you mentioned that making it to the semis was one of your goals. And what were some of the positives from this season from your perspective for both you and this Ralston Valley team?
So one thing that like stood out to me from my junior year to my senior year was definitely the strength of the schedule and the competition we played. We went 8-2 both years, but the 8-2 that we had this year felt way more like validated, considering we played arguably the hardest schedule in the state against top 5 teams basically every week until we got to our league play. And like just playing us that level of competition early in the season really like made us battle tested and ready for the playoffs. And then it was kind of funny once we got to the playoffs, because every team we played in the playoffs was a team that we played in the regular season. So it was basically just like
That's
another
true. I
like
didn't even think about that with the Valor game.
yeah, and it was hard too it was like hard for both of us because we had so much film against each other and throughout the whole season that it was tough. Like, even though we're playing against like lower ranked teams than us, like you still got to come prepared when they have so much film on you and you have so much film on them.
No, that makes a ton of sense, and that would explain, a bit of the chess match that was going on in that Valor Christian playoff game, and how absurd it got with double overtime. Y'all were neck and neck there, and I guess obviously, the season, everyone wants to win state for the season to end and whatnot, but I don't want to call them negatives so much as I want to ask you, what do you think are some lessons to be learned from, like you said, this 8-2 season against this hard schedule and this overall 10-3 season for maybe you individually as a player, but I'd say more so for this Ralston Valley team that's probably looking to take another step this next season?
I mean, so we had a first-year head coach with us this year. So playing the three-time defending champions Cherry Creek week 1 of the season, and we obviously weren't like proven at that point. Like nobody was really giving us a chance, and to hang in that game with them for basically 3.5 quarters, and then for a couple freak plays to happen at the end, like kind of showed like how like resilient our team was, and that we were like prepared to like go to battle against any team in the state, and that we could compete with the best. And I think playing Creek right off the bat like kind of helped us with that. But I was really like not like, you never want to be like content with a loss, but we had some like moral victories in that game, and we're able to build on that game for the rest of the season and improve to eventually like be as good of a team as we were for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no. So just being able to learn those lessons and find the positives in those losses, no matter what, is going to help you build off of what's good and then correct what's wrong. And I think that that's the same for any team and any player as well. And talking about positives, I'm gonna kind of do a little step back to your game here and give you a chance. I know that you're a humble guy, but I'm really gonna try and let you fan what you do well and just kind of ask you, in your opinion, as an individual, what are 2 to 3 qualities or abilities that you think separate you from other safeties in the state or even in the country?
Well, I think 2 to 3 things that like separate me. One being my preparation. I feel like this comes from like the coaching staff as well, that they really help prepare us and give us a great game plan each week, so that like I'm never going into the game like uncomfortable or confused with like any look that we're faced with. So I feel like my preparation really sets me apart, and that like coincides with going into the game like ready to go. I feel like I can line up our team to get in the right alignment for any set that the offense brings out to us, which I think separates me the most. And then I think my eyes and eye discipline and coverage is one of my best qualities, because rarely, if not ever, do I feel like I'm giving up a deep shot or I'm trying to keep everything in front of us and bend don't break as a defense. So I feel like those are 3 of my best qualities.
No, and I appreciate you talking about those, because those are things that, you know, obviously we can talk about in film, but we don't know on a week to week basis what your preparation looks like. So I think that it's a good thing for you to bring that up, just because, I mean, all the other stuff we got a chance to talk about, but we don't know what goes on behind the scenes to make those things possible. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And as far as liking that mental side of the game, that does kind of intrigue me as far as this past season. You talked about a lot of these matchups specifically, but I want to dive a little bit deeper and ask you, who was your favorite matchup or offense to go against from a personal level, as far as like a team that really challenged you as a player, and maybe a team that you'd like another crack at from like an individual perspective to challenge and grow you as a player, or one that you just had a lot of fun going against because it was like a good quarterback or a good scheme or what have you?
One team that's like always my favorite to play against. I played against them twice my junior year and once my senior year, is Grandview. Playing against them is like very tough because they have playmakers all over the field, and then they obviously got Liam at quarterback, and it's so much harder on a defense and puts so much stress when your quarterback's able to scramble and run and make plays outside the pocket. So I just always had fun in those games. And it felt good to get some revenge this year after we lost to them in the playoffs last year. So that was always a good matchup against them.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and I think that those are obviously qualities that you look for in a team. Now, obviously, from a winning a football game perspective, you'd rather if the quarterback stood still and was a bonehead, but it's always nice to enjoy the process and enjoy the challenge and rise to it and get a solid win. That, I mean, obviously that early in the season builds up a lot of confidence and allows you to accomplish a lot of the things that you end up accomplishing that season. So, and then I guess on a more like personnel standpoint, who would you say is probably the most underrated matchup that you had this season, whether it was a receiver or a quarterback? Somebody that you think probably doesn't have the buzz that they maybe should.
Yeah, I think Chatfield was a very underrated team to play against. They had a very tough schedule this year, so their record didn't reflect how strong they were as a team. And Jake Jones, their quarterback, he played great against us both times, and he was really able to extend plays, and he put a lot of stress on us as a defense, and some of that we weren't really expecting, and he made a lot of plays, and they're a pretty solid team, and they should have a good season next year as well.
Yeah, we'll be sure to keep a lookout for him. And I agree. Jake is definitely one of those players that you just kind of have to see to understand how his game works. It's not something you can explain too much verbally, but I got to see him in that upset win that they had against Fairview. And I think everything that you said is so true as far as, their record doesn't reflect that they should maybe even be in that game, but their play did show that they were ready for that. So I'll have to agree with you there. And, before we talk about, your journey and the path to college football, I want to give you a chance to shout out some Ralston Valley guys that we should look out for this fall season in 2023.
Oh, we had a great team this past year. We had a lot of key seniors graduating this year and moving on, but we have a lot of strong juniors that should have big breakout seasons. On offense, obviously Logan Madden's going to have a great year once again. Jackson Hanson's going to shine as well. Liam Beatty should step up for a couple of our receivers that graduated. And then on defense, linebacker Laird Jones, he should have another great season. He's a tackle machine. And then our D line is always strong, and we had a lot of guys that really contributed. They should be built to make another great run this next season.
Yeah, sorry, I was just taking notes, just making sure that I get those names. I mean, it's names that we should all know, but I do the season previews for this league, so I always appreciate that insider information on any Liam Beatty, a guy who's kind of expected to take that next step and things like that. I always appreciate, so I am excited for that. And now we get to hear your story here. Now everyone's recruiting journey is so different, and obviously you did end up committing to play on the next level. So I guess just kind of take us through your story and what that process looked like and where you ended up committing to.
Well, so my recruiting process really began after my junior year, which is a little bit later than some people. I really in my junior year was kind of unaware as to what the recruiting world looked like, but I knew I wanted to play football after having a successful junior year. So after my junior year, that's when I tried out for Team Full Gorilla. And not only just the training and experience from playing and that helped me, but they gave us invaluable experiences on recruiting trips and opportunities to help spread our name and help market ourselves to these colleges and give us great opportunities post high school. And so once I joined them, my eyes got like open to the whole like Twitter and social media and how to promote yourself. So once I did that, then I started going to camps in the summer and that trying to get my name out. And then from there, I was starting to get looks. And then going into my senior year, it kind of just depended on how well I was going to play and have produced another great year of film to hopefully move on to the next level. And I had a great year, had no offers following the Final Four game. So I was like kind of skeptical there, but knew that a lot of guys get offers after their senior year. And then that's when things like really started picking up and coaches started calling. I started going on visits. And then from there, I decided to commit to Colorado Mesa University and play in the RMAC in Grand Junction. And that'll be a great time for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I know the RMAC is as competitive as it gets in D2, especially here in Colorado, where we feel here on the podcast and we vocalize it too. A lot of D2s in Colorado are so good because we think that they're getting D1 level guys who go to these Colorado universities. And, we could just be talking out of our, whatever. But as somebody who's played against national competition, would you say that Colorado talent can hang in there? And I guess how slept on are we compared to what you've seen across the country?
I would say Colorado by far is one of the most underrated and slept on states in the country. I mean, every time we travel out of state, it feels like we have a target on our back for Team Full Gorilla. We have the guys that produce not just stats, but in Colorado, but they produce against the best in the country. And I feel like though we do have some guys that get that recognition to go to Power Five and even some FCS D1 schools, that there are a lot of kids that are underrated and not necessarily settling for D2s, but they're getting fewer opportunities than I personally believe they should be. But I'm perfectly happy with where I'm at, and I'm proud to be a Colorado Mesa commit.
They're the is it the Mavericks? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
the Mavericks.
Nice. So you're gonna be a Mav, and we ain't talking Dallas. So that's exciting. I guess when you were looking around and you were getting crazy like visits. It felt like back to back to back to back. Like every day I looked on Twitter and it was like, oh, I'm visiting here, I'm here, I'm here, and offers left and right. I guess what were some things that you were looking for from a school? Whether that was on the academic side or from the athletic program leading up to your decision. What were some like priorities that you had?
Well, so I didn't really have like that much of a like decision for like schools out of state. So I was like mainly focused in state or within the RMAC in the surrounding states. But I wanted a school that could like not only challenge me athletically, but academically to set me up for the rest of my life. So that's really the main thing I was focused on. And then building a good relationship with the position coach because that's who you're going to be around like 90% of the time. So I'm only going to somewhere where I'm going to feel respected and have a good time with that person, and build a positive relationship where they can be impactful in my life beyond football.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal, and I think that's something that maybe you don't think about before hopping into recruiting, but it is something that once you're in the process, you're like, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with certain people and I better like them. Otherwise, it's going to be a long 4 years or 5 or whatever, as far as the college experience goes. And, looking forward now, not talking about the story so much, but talking about becoming a college football player, what are some of your goals that you have for college or just college ball?
I'm really just looking to have a positive experience with it. I have a lot of like friends, I guess, and people that I know also going to Mesa and playing football. So it's going to be a lot of fun up there. We have a huge freshman class that's looking to put the RMAC on notice, and it should be a great season this next year and for the next 4 years to come.
Yeah, I definitely think that Mesa really ramped it up. I feel like, especially with like a transition happening at CSU Pueblo with a new coach and whatnot, I definitely think Mesa jumped on that opportunity, and they did get a load of talent, not only from, this year and that huge freshman class that you're talking about, but I know that they've been putting in some work in that transfer portal. And, they even have guys from last year. Another TFG guy like Jackson Brush went there, and, he was able to get on the field and whatnot. So I am excited for some Mesa football, and, we'll have to make the journey out there sometime and see some of our guys ball out once they're on the field and whatnot. So that's exciting, and I think that's a good outlook to have on it, and just make the most of it, man. I mean, look, you get to play college football, and I mean, you just get more time to play football, really, because that clock for football, it expires for everyone at some point. Even Brady had to retire eventually. Granted, like 2 or 3 people's lifetimes, but even time is undefeated. So just making the most of it, I think, is such a great goal, and I think that that's a message that can be taken by some of our younger listeners. And to further on that, I want to just ask you if you could give advice to younger athletes, whether they're at Ralston Valley, whether they're not at Ralston Valley, or if you could tell yourself something or give yourself some advice making your way through high school and aspiring to go to the next level, what would you tell those kids or yourself in the past?
I think one thing that like really helped me out the most was like not only like just prepare yourself physically, prepare yourself mentally, because the thing that'll get you on the field in high school football before anyone else is just being able to know your assignment and know your job. Being able to know your job is so valuable. And even if someone's bigger, stronger, even faster than you, if you know what you're doing, you're going to be making plays, and the coaches are going to see that, and it's all just going to create a ripple effect. And your size, strength, and speed will come with hard work along with that. But preparing yourself mentally is so underrated and like overlooked, I feel like.
No, I think that's great advice. And, now that I think about it personally, I don't be talking about my old playing days that are so far behind me, but, I definitely think like I knew how to play 4 different positions on the offense. And, if somebody was hurt over there, all right, I slide over there. And then whoever knew that job after me, where I was at on the field, was able to plug and play. So, being able to be plugged in and then play is very important, and that will get you quite a ways here. So, I just want to echo that sentiment and, just say that I appreciate all your stories and wisdom that you've imparted, and just having a good time during this interview. But before we go, I do want to give you a chance to shout out anyone who's been important to you, both maybe in the classroom, on the field, or, off the field at home or whatever. Just take as much time as you need to thank, other players, friends, family, coaches, or whoever. This is your time to just, wave around that flag of gratitude here. So have at it.
So I have a lot of people that have had like a positive impact that have helped me like get to where I am today. My parents have been so supportive, not only in my athletics, but through my academics as well, which has really helped me prepare myself for where I'm at today. I had great coaches both years of playing varsity football. One coach in particular, my junior year, Coach Francis, he really helped me like really build on the game mentally and prepare myself. And then this past year, Coach Yano, Coach Trujillo, and our new staff really helped me become a better person, not only player. And their experience that they helped and advice that they gave to me was invaluable, and I'm forever grateful for my coaches in both my junior year, my senior year, and my parents and my sisters as well.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great support system, and I'm glad, you do have a unique experience having like such major overhaul between your junior and senior year, and just the team finding success in 2 different ways. But, obviously we here at the pod are all about that spread. So, I thought it was very, redeeming for us to see y'all air it out. And obviously, Logan had a ton of fun with that and whatnot. But, I do think that you do have such a unique experience and, honestly, just an opportunity to build more relationships through that process and whatnot. So that makes me extremely excited for you. And then, what I always tell the people on the pod is, just in case you think there's anybody that's going to badger you about it, you go, and anyone else, you know who you are. So that way they're not like, hey, what was up with that, man? So we've actually had before one guy called us again. He called us back and was like, man, I almost forgot to say this person. Can you put it in there? And we were like, all right, sure. But, it sounds like a great support system through and through. And, I'm grateful for that system as well because it helped produce, from a football perspective, a stud that, I got to watch, really come into his own between that TFG tryout where I was like, oh, he's on our radar now. And, being able to see what you were able to accomplish and then breaking down the film. And, at that tryout, I remember talking to Simon, Coach V, and being like, that guy looks like somebody who could be a top 5 2023 guy. And this safety group in Colorado is always such an interesting one to talk about. We actually think it's one of the best, position groups as far as Colorado goes. And, we were having a hard time going back and forth on a ton of guys, TFG guys, or, how many snaps do they play at safety? Could you call this a safety and whatnot? And, it was a very tough process, but a very fun one. And I'm glad that you were a part of that. And, I just want to say from the bottom of our heart, both Coach V and I, as well as Gideon, we're very grateful for your time on the show today, man.
Yeah, thank you. I also want to shout out all Coach T and all the coaches at TFG. They had a very positive impact on my career as a player, and I'll forever be grateful for them as well. Thank you for having me today also.
Of course. See, and I said, hey, and if anyone feels left out, because they'd have been like, hey, man, where's the shout out? We know that you were talking about us all episode, but yeah, no, those are some fun guys as well. And I guess before we leave, I don't know, I know you're not here for clout, but while we have you, why don't you tell the people where to find you on social media? Let's get those numbers up.
So Instagram is at jason.thome.12. Thome spelled Thome. And Twitter at jasonthome12 spelled the same. Go follow both of those. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, and be sure to go give your boy a follow. And after you follow Jason on those, be sure to find us at Playmaker Corner on Twitter and then Playmakers Corner on Instagram. And, if your parents want to follow us, but they're not on those, go ahead and tell them to find us on Facebook. If TikTok is still out by the time this episode is around, then please find us on there at Playmakers Corner. If not, you'll never hear this bit because I will just chop it. But, if you can't find us on there, be sure to find us on YouTube as well, Playmakers Corner. We'll also make a return to Twitch at some point. And, go and follow us on all those so you get announcements for all of our newest episodes. Or find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts and hit that little flag button so that way you get notifications for whenever we release new episodes. But, I have been Cody Stauffer, joined here by a very special guest in Jason Thome. And you listened to Playmakers Corner. Peace.